Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, McKenna joins us. She's a reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Here for the whole show, the all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
It's the most wonderful time to win during the $125,000 Holiday Cash Frenzy at Tamarack Casino. Every Saturday, unwrap thousands in cash and free play. Don't miss the grand finale December 27th. We're gifting $20,000 in cash guaranteed. 'Tis the season for good times at Tamarack Casino.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always pleased to welcome back to the program McKenna Ross. She is a reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Pleasure to have you back.
Glad to be here.
So let's start out, as we're taping this on the 29th of October, the SNAP benefits. You wrote a big piece about this. Where do you think the effects are going to be, and how rapidly are they going to occur, especially with what the governor is trying to do to back things up?
Yeah, so SNAP is kind of on the chopping block right now. The federal government has said that they don't intend to use the contingency plans that, or contingency funds, I should say, that are allocated through Congress to step in when funds kind of run dry during this federal shutdown on Saturday, so November 1st. So the state right now is trying to figure out what to do to fill that hole. About 500,000 Nevadans receive SNAP benefits to some degree, and it costs the state, well, it is about $90 million for the state. It's actually fully federally funded, which is why we're having this debate at the state level right now. The Democrats want to find a way to fill in funding with whatever we have. You know, we have $1.3 billion in a rainy day fund. There are various other, pots of money that they're looking to funnel into food support. While the governor says that there's not really a legal way for them to do that, and instead we have to focus on trying to get resources to food banks who can then distribute that extra
Really?
food.
So you can't use the rainy day fund for that?
Well, he's arguing that you can't use state funds legally, and that's kind of where this back and forth is going on as we speak. So on Thursday, they are going to the interim finance committee meeting, trying to allocate some portion of money. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I do know that it's not 90 million. It doesn't fill the whole gap. It doesn't pay for those nearly 500,000 people's, SNAP benefits for November.
The shocking thing about that number is it's 1/6 of the population of Nevada that's on benefits.
Yeah.
That's kind of a scary number.
I think it really shows us how dependent a lot of the state is on the federal government. We've really seen that a lot through this year because of the Trump administration's changes to grant funding or freezing grants or rescinding these programs that we supplemented or outright funded through federal dollars are now constantly in flux and the subject of lawsuits, and and people on the ground suffer.
So as you're talking to all the people, and I don't expect you to name anybody, but what are the thoughts that are coming back to you about when this is going to end?
It just seems like people are really digging their heels in. I wonder if the Trump administration, pushed for this approach to, changing the SNAP funding for November to force a real decision on continuing the shutdown. Obviously, if the government voted today, the federal government voted today to open up the federal government, then the money would come back, and folks would have their benefits come, November 1st. Or the only other option would be an injunction coming through the, court system.
I think that, and this is my personal opinion, that the end is going to come when the polling data for both sides says we are being hurt.
Yeah.
On both sides, and that the public is looking at this and blaming everyone. They're not blaming one side or the other or supporting one side or the other. They're just saying, look at the pain that we are causing, and it's your fault.
I honestly think it's a fair, guess. I think yesterday I was in line with some folks at a food pantry and trying to get their sense of how they feel about all of this. And, there's just a ton of uncertainty. But one thing is for sure, that attitude is certainly coming through on a lot of people's comments. It's, the government's bananas, everybody's blaming other people, aren't there pots of money to use? People don't understand the political fight, and you're right. I think when they get tired of it loudly will be the time that politics has finally shifted away from it's better to dig our heels in and instead in favor of it's better to get moving on something.
I have a funny feeling it's going to move very rapidly after November 1st, but we shall see. What's staring us in the face is the potential special session. The governor has not called for it yet, but everybody in the political world is certainly discussing it. And at the top of the list, the movie tax and the credits that go along with that. You've been doing some extensive reporting on that. Share that with us.
Sure, yeah. Well, the state right now is considering whether to put a film tax credit bill on the special session agenda. It can only be considered if it's on the agenda, but I'm sure there is a lot of political reasons why we don't know yet. And one might be that it was really divisive during the regular session earlier this year. If you can remember, 22-20 was the only vote that it got. I mean, it barely eked out of the assembly. So that goes to show that, there's still a lot of debate on whether using taxpayer dollars to support an industry and to try and really draw that industry to Southern Nevada, whether state lawmakers see it as worth the cost.
It's been fascinating to watch during session on a number of interviews we did on the show where leadership was, half the leadership was in favor, the other half of the leadership was not in favor, and saying it very publicly. Did that surprise you that there wasn't a more united front, especially, I would say, on the Democratic side, just because it was jobs?
Right. Yeah, I think it was a little surprising, but at the same time, I think the debate on tax subsidies and, how we invest in industry really doesn't fall along party lines. That's one thing I've thought was so fascinating about this running story is that, we had Democrats and Republicans vote yes and no. It went all across the board. And so I think you can see that in leadership's opinions, at least during the regular session. One thing I have been surprised by is how it seems that there is more support in this push right now, in this lead up to try and get it on the agenda. You didn't hear much from the Senate Majority Leader, Nicole Cannizzaro, during the regular session. And some people believe that it was in part because there was a Senate version of the film tax credit bill. But now with what's going on in the lead up to this special session, it's really only focusing on one because people believe it's better to just get one done, and that one had momentum. And so she recently came out and spoke in favor of it at a big union event that they held about a week and a half ago. Said she was really in favor of it because she's in favor of union jobs. And to me, that was new. I hadn't heard her say something so publicly and declare it, and so that kind of suggests that there is a lot of political will to make something happen.
State Senator Robin Titus is very close to the governor. She leads the Republicans in the Senate. And she was on the program just within the last 2 weeks, still not in favor of it, talking about how Tyler Perry, who I have advocated should have been consulted and brought before the Nevada legislature to give his opinions on this, because there's nobody that knows more about working with a state on film tax credits. But even he is slowing down with his company in Georgia. And Senator Titus talked to legislators from Georgia, and they were not enthusiastic about this.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting interview. Kudos to you guys for that, because it did show how there's such a weight constantly going back and forth. Because, I think some people expect the Republican Party to be in favor of this because it's about, industry, business, and economic development. And then on the flip side, you may think that Democrats are in favor because of all the union labor involved. But there are still, when you get down to the dollars and cents, the return on investment for the state is still less than $1 for every tax dollar that they invest. And so when we already are limited in our revenues, when we are concerned about the potential for economic slowdowns, how does that affect what we can invest in and what we consider in the future? That I guess I should say what they consider in the future, these lawmakers, because they don't want to be in a situation where in 2 or 3 years we're having a serious economic slowdown or a recession of some kind, and they're on the hook for millions of dollars for a project that hasn't yet gotten to stabilization.
Yeah, and isn't there a clawback feature that the state would not be on the hook if the movie studios didn't do what they said they were going to do in the time frame they were going to do? That there will be a clawback from the state. But I look at the housing situation. The housing situation in Southern Nevada, the cost of housing is through the roof. You're going to bring 28,000 new people to Southern Nevada. Even if you divided that by 2 or 4, it's still a lot of homes that are very, very expensive. And the transferable tax credits, I think that's another point where, we've certainly seen in Northern Nevada, Reno, Sparks, Washoe County, all talking about over the next few years, they're not going to have enough tax revenue to provide the services that they need to provide. I have a funny feeling that that's going to be the same story here in Southern Nevada. And yet at the same time now you're doing these transferable tax credits where you're going to be taking away an influx of tax money that's going to be sold most likely to casino companies, which is fine. If that's the legal situation, I have no problem with that. But is that really what you want to do at this point in time?
Right.
That's more my opinion. I know you can't use your opinion, but I can.
No, I understand. I think that's the debate. But I do think you bring up a great point about the transferable nature. I mean, this is one of the most common ways to build a film tax credit program in the country. We're not the only one to offer them.
Sure.
But it's amazing how little people really understand about how the people who are earning these tax credits are not even really applying it to their own tax burden.
Right.
So, I mean, if we want the insurance companies and the gaming companies of our state to pay their fair share, then then what is the transferable nature? Why do we have that? I mean, that's the debate.
Well, the other thing is, you look at Tesla. They made more money selling the transferable tax credits than they did selling cars. And so that's an interesting
That's really, I'd like to know. I got to read that.
Yeah, it's an interesting sidebar.
Yeah.
Alexis Hill, chair of the Washoe County Commission, midterm, running against Aaron Ford for governor. And she is that's a big part of her campaign, and you've covered this. Share with us your thoughts on Alexis Hill, because she's quite well known in Northern Nevada. Not so well known in Southern Nevada, but she's down here almost every week.
Yeah. I was talking to her campaign and then they were telling me about how they're here getting coffee at various locations throughout Las Vegas. And I'm impressed. That's definitely a lot of groundwork to do. She has an uphill battle, not being a name in Southern Nevada. But I think her stance on this particular tax credit for those who may not know, she's launched a petition, and she intends to deliver it to the legislature and to the governor's office around whenever this special session may be called, to show the on the ground opinions against this tax credit, according to whoever signs the petition. She said to me that similar to what you mentioned about Northern Nevada, there they see these tax credits have an effect on their books and ultimately affect the possibilities for infrastructure or what they can do. She mentioned that it can be difficult that, there's an increase of workers going out to a particular place that wasn't developed before, so now they have to build the road, the infrastructure. Do they have the money for the road? That kind of thing is a weight that is left to the local governments to decide, even though this tax program, this tax credit program, was decided at a level above them. And so I think that she sees her local perspective as a way to shed light on what could happen in Southern Nevada, and also just show people who she is and what she stands for.
It's interesting that the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the success of that, and you're seeing it being duplicated on a smaller scale by Tract, the company that's competing in some ways with Switch up in Northern Nevada, which is to fund the infrastructure at the very beginning. So the developer funded the infrastructure and then went out to companies and said, okay, come to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. We've got water, we've got power, we've got fiber, we've got everything that you need out there in advance, knowing that down the road, pardon the pun, that the state would be forced to pick up the cost of those roads and interchanges and things like that. But it was funded by the private developer. I haven't heard from the film industry that they are looking to fund anything like that.
No, I haven't heard that either. But what does make this particular film tax credit interesting and a little different than, again, like the programs that exist around the country is this this requirement that the credits are associated with the development of the studio. So they are promising to build not just film movies in Nevada, but they're promising to build studio campuses. And, working with the Howard Hughes Corporation, they intend to build, a shopping mall and a hotel around there. So there's a lot of development that's bigger. It is infrastructure, maybe not roads, but it's a lot more. And also it's tied, the ability to get the tax credit is tied to how much investment they've made at that point. So they don't even get their first tax credits until they've invested $400 million in capital investment, as described in the bill in the regular session, I should caveat, because we don't know what will be introduced and how it may have been changed, if at all.
That suggests to me that a marketing campaign is in order here for them to explain to the public and the politicians that it's bigger than just the studios, because that's the first I've really heard of that. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because you look at Brightline, they've got their 100 acres of Warm Springs. It's not just about a train station. It's a whole economic development project of entertainment, hotel, restaurants, etc. So that makes a big difference. Let's take a break. We'll come back more with McKenna Ross from the Review-Journal after this time out.
This holiday season, say aloha to winning big with the Carson Valley Inn's $250,000 Hawaiian holiday giveaways. Unwrap the fun with $500 Southwest gift cards and mini vacations every Saturday. And $60,000 in grand prize Hawaiian vacations or cash. The islands are calling, only at the Carson Valley Inn.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain, moving 95% of our freight in the Silver State. And while essential, the road isn't always smooth. Supply chain disruptions, rising fuel costs, and unrealistic rules and laws that hamper our ability to serve our customers and country. Our prosperity and every sector of the economy, manufacturing, mining, medicine, and food from farm to table, is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
You're in trouble with the law. It's easy to think you'll lose everything, but there is hope. I'm attorney Orrin Johnson. Your first step is to hire a serious attorney with the experience to successfully navigate the legal system for you.
Sometimes hope means addiction treatment instead of jail, and making sure you're treated fairly.
Sometimes hope means fearless trial attorneys will stand up to the government when they get it wrong. Call or text Orrin Johnson Law.
We'll make a plan.
You'll take back your life.
It happens. And when it does, there's UMC Quick Care.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're talking with McKenna Ross. She is a reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and a darn good one, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciated all your work during the legislative session. You did awesome. Sandra Howdigi going up against Stavros Anthony. That's an interesting race right there.
Yeah, should be. I think she was a real leader in the assembly there for almost 10 years, and 10 years, and I think she's got this platform leading the film tax credit bill that lets her kind of step up into putting her name out more into a statewide position. So, and they are very different candidates. So
Absolutely.
I think people will get their choice, and she's already got a lot of support from many of the Democratic leaders and institutions.
She's got the reverse situation of Alexis Hill, which is that she is not very well known in northern Nevada at all, and I doubt very well known in rural Nevada. And so she's going to have to do a lot of work there. Stavros, I've never seen anybody enjoy being lieutenant governor more than Stavros Anthony, because I think he has been to almost every corner of the state, places he didn't even know existed.
But he was from North Las Vegas, so.
Right, but I mean, that's my point, is that he has done a very intensive campaign over the last 3 years to really get out there into those areas. But I mean, that doesn't mean anything. You know the irony of all this is that we've gotten to the point where there is so much money in politics these days that it almost doesn't matter what you've done in your regular job, whether you're a legislator or not. All of a sudden, $500,000, couple of $1 million comes into your campaign, and suddenly you become known because of that 30 seconds rather than all the work you have done, whether it's Sandra in the legislature or Stavros traveling in the state. Does it really matter?
I don't know. I guess time will tell, but I think we are seeing a big difference in how money, pushes campaigns forward and gets people in front of the right audiences. And we live in such a, digital world now that if you can use campaign funds to get on as many screens or as many targeted screens as possible, I mean, that's really, really valuable. And then, as you point out, like just also getting that regular legwork of going out into communities, showing your face and showing people what you stand for, all of that costs money. And so the more money you have, the better you can campaign. But we've seen, at least at the national level, I mean, we've seen that you can have millions and millions of dollars and still lose. So it's also about strategy.
Yes, Greg Kidd might be able to share that with you. When he ran against Mark Hamaday, spent about $11 million and came in second. Let's take another break. We'll be right back. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation, and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. But it's more than just growth. Our community is our foundation, supporting families, empowering local initiatives, and creating a place where everyone belongs. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Join us in building a brighter future right here in Story County. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with McKenna Ross. She is a reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I want to end on a somewhat of a sad note, but also a good note, which is the passing of former state archivist Guy Rocha. I knew him for many, many years. He was a wonderful guy. You weren't around when he was around, but you did a lot of digging. What did you find out about him?
Oh, I found everybody had such positive things to say about him, but what I really learned is, he had a true soul for searching for the truth and telling the history of Nevada as it really was. I spoke to his daughter, and she just told me so many great stories about who he was as a father, but also as a, mentor, a leader to her and to, folks in the legislature and in state government. So many people told me stories of how he would be there if you needed to fact check something, and
yes.
not just be there with the fact check, but if he didn't know the answer, go do the research, send you a couple pages worth of information, or leave a voicemail that's 1.5 minutes long. Was another story I heard. So it just goes to show that he really made an impression on a lot of people and on the state.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for doing this story. It was a wonderful story. And thank you for doing this. We appreciate your work.
Yeah, glad to be here.
And we'll be right back.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
It happens, and when it does, there's UMC Quick Care.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas. As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. You can also download the podcasts from your favorite podcast app. We'll see you on the next broadcast.